Okay.
Do you need me to click on that?
All that wasn't part of the volunteer.
No, additional.
Okay.
If not,
We'll make it professional.
So Chad, are you the main guy?
Yeah.
He's been a couple times.
All right, Eric.
Alrighty. So,
All right.
our core value that we wanted to go ahead and start with today is sense of urgency. We've all been in a position where just that lack of movement has prevented a deal to go through. Specifically with real estate, it can happen where if we don't respond quickly enough to our franchisees and our broker, we may potentially lose the deal. So one things that we try to keep on, that we try to keep tab of and we try to stay on top of is making sure that our responses are timely to our franchisees, to our brokers, to all of our clients. So from that perspective, we definitely wanted to highlight sense of urgency.
Next. Well, yeah, overcoming objections today. So how many of you had to overcome objections at one point today? You see, raise your hand.
Some of you are the
Some of you may not even realize it. It just comes to you naturally. Like, I had to overcome the objection of getting out of bed today. I didn't really want to get up, man. So you fight with yourself sometimes. That's an objection. Give me an example of something you overcame today. Troy?
My wife said she didn't want to cook dinner.
And how did you overcome that? What did you come up with?
I probably shouldn't have said that.
Because I'll go by and pick up Dickie.
You're still thinking of it.
Yeah, I was like, but you're such a great cook that I would really enjoy it if you did.
Okay.
That's actually pretty
Good.
fucking
That's good
Well
save.
played.
Anybody have a work one they can give me? A work-related one today?
Yeah, an owner called and said that he was going to close down because his pit's not working and he's tired of having lack of support and he feels like all he can do to get our attention is stop up and down and threaten to close. So we've appropriately alerted all of the right folks to get everybody in the right place, and we'll be getting him the support he needs on his pit and take away any reason that he would use as a crutch to close.
Great. Nice. Well, let's move on to topics today. So, understanding it's a numbers game, creating a sense of urgency, and make sure you do the research. That's kind of the topics we're going to cover today. So, first of all, going to the next one, we're going to play this game that kind of ties all this together. I've got 3 volunteers. So, Paul, let's see, Christine, you're each going to get a dice. If somebody can do a stopwatch or a countdown for me for 1 minute, they're going to roll the dice, Jim, and they try to get the most 6s in 1 minute. We'll win this Starbucks gift card.
Oh,
Okay?
wow.
What's the value on that card?
I can't even care about Starbucks.
$1 billion.
You got this,
All right, let me know when
Christine.
you're ready there.
It's your
Okay,
salesman.
I got it. Let me know when you're ready.
Let's go. 6. Jim's got 1. Paul's 1. 6. 6. Got 3. 3, 1, 1.
Hopefully, nice little rhythm over there.
6. Jim's got 4. He won the winner then.
Oh, Jim's going down.
Jim
4,
3.
2. You got 3? 6.
4.
5. 4. Paul still has 1.
5.
2. 4.
6. 7.
7?
I think it's 7.
You guys have 7.
8.
6.
I'm out.
Oh, you suck.
Last 15 seconds.
You don't want to heater.
See, what you don't know is I actually had 15.
6. 11.
Come on.
Oh, I just got
9,
three.
8, 7, 6,
Come on, Paul.
5, 4,
Oh, God.
3,
Oh, God.
2,
11.
1. All right, looks like Jim's the winner.
Wow.
Gift card.
$5 gift card.
Thank you.
Starbucks.
Oh.
Big time.
Just a little 15 cents.
So,
I'll
There
do it
was-
again. Who's ready to roll?
Yeah.
So Roland always says it's a numbers game, right? So kind of playing through that, you got to see, your guys' sense of urgency. Obviously, as the clock got closer and closer to 1 minute, you started rolling a little faster, you notice? And one thing we can all do a better job of is, throughout the month, paying attention to your deals more earlier in the month. So you're not in a rush at the very end to try to get your deals done. And getting more deals on your tracker. So you have more to choose from, That's why we say it's a numbers game. One thing that, there was 2 other dice. And I didn't mention to you guys, but you could have grabbed the other dice, so you would have increased your chances of getting 6s, right? I didn't tell you that, but you could have asked. So think outside the box, Things aren't always gonna appear what they seem to be. So just keep that in mind when you're asking a lot of questions, make sure everyone's on the same page. The other thing was I threw out a carrot for you, a gift. So for me, that's kind of like a market squeeze, when we have multiple franchisees or prospects trying to go after one territory. That's a good example for us. Also, in real estate, we like to work multiple LOIs on, and let landlords know. So we're keeping them honest, let them know that they've got other deals working. So that's kind of the roll the dice game in a nutshell. Let's go on to the next. So this was a huge win for us. I don't know if you guys did not. Is there something on the next screen? Oh crap! You didn't get the updated version, I guess. Oh well. So anyway, this is a big win that we've been working on for the last probably year, almost 14 months with Walmart directly, trying to get into some non-traditional deals on the front of Dickies, on the front of Walmart, so that we can easily add units to our pipeline store count for existing owner-operators. It's a low-cost build. They can smoke off-site. And one of the biggest hurdles we had with Walmart was they wanted a corporate guarantee. And they do that with almost every franchise out there. Well, we really stuck to our guns. When Roland took the stance, I said, well, the deal is going to be off the table. They're going to move on because, they are the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And, we stuck to our guns and came up with a amicable way of getting around that for everybody. So we don't have a corporate guarantee. We were able to facilitate these leases direct to our franchisees. They have to put up a little bit larger deposit, but we found a solution. And, we're one of the only brands out there that's doing this without the corporate guarantee. So it's a huge win for us. We've got a couple spots in the works right now here in Carrollton and one in New York right now. Hopefully we're going to add, 50 or so more coming year. So, that's a big win for us, and we're excited. If you want to go to the next one here. So working through objections, as a lot of you deal with these all the time, probably, prospects that have a huge laundry list of objections that they're wanting or concessions on their deal. One comes to mind that Trinity, myself, and Joe dealt with. Josh Wise, we had to get both attorneys. We got both attorneys on the horn, our attorney and theirs, and at first glance we had 50 different objections to go through, and it looked like it was never going to get done. So we strategized and came up, well, look, let's just get through the ones that everyone's agreed to, and we'll leave those the ones that nobody agrees to until the very end. So we knocked out 48 of them in 30 minutes. Those last two took about 12 hours, but we got through them. And I think that kind of goes back to what we talked about the other day, just getting those all out on the table and going through them at once. Unless we're on the other side, then we want to trickle.
That was also us not letting him off the phone. It was, well, talk to me, why do you want this? Why do you want this? Why is this an issue for you? What can we,
Yeah.
well, let's talk about it. And it was just having that open communication and us not he didn't never really say no, but he never said yes, then it wasn't no, hell no. But it was that constant, we're gonna get through this, but we gotta do it together.
And if you have a deal that's that close on the hook there, and they have an attorney, utilize our in-house attorneys. They can get on the phone with you and get the deal over to the finish line. That's one of the reasons we have them here. So, any big stories that you guys have that you could share with the room about overcoming objections similar on a particular deal?
We had Gina Verastro took a couple weeks, and she sent over a 4-page document. Most of it was incidental, it wasn't paramount, but we treated every one like it was a really big concession. So we tried to build that leverage and that power and credibility through each concession that we gave her. We never told her that any of them were insignificant. So we leveraged the entire document to really kind of lay it all out there.
Well, at that point, before we even got to that, she had said no, she didn't want to move forward, and so we just, let's call and ask and talk about what went wrong and what can we have done differently, and it opened up the communication. It was, the objection was no then, it was how do we overcome it, and it was just having that open line of communication, and then just, even if you don't move forward, just talk to us, and that was a game changer for her.
And if you have any examples of overcoming financial objections, that's my presentation tomorrow, so hold those until mine tomorrow.
But I think that was played so well because I've seen a lot of people that want to stop, they want to make everything a sticking point, and it's like, so you skipped over, you said, okay, let's just table that and move on, so you knocked out all the easy ones and then went down. Because if you've got 50 points of contention and agreement, that seems unsurmountable. If you can get rid of the 47 that are insignificant and get it down to 3, then 3 is doable.
Makes a big difference, absolutely.
Well, and I had one earlier with a gentleman in Springboro, Ohio, who would just refuse to go to training. And I think the victory there was to essentially put him on the line, risk losing the deal in order to not make any concessions, right? There, rather than just say, sure, you can lower the term, sure, we'll do this and this, just said, no, it's either if you want it this year, you're gonna do it now, or otherwise. Even on the closing call, we started asking questions, and my stance was, we're not gonna give you anything, sorry. I think that sometimes there's a place to do that, if you're in the position to do it.
Right.
Not
Well, and I
always the
think
case.
in any sales role, you guys have to be brave and fearless, and you get sold just as much as you're selling by the prospect. And so sometimes you don't want to ask why, or you don't want to ask, well, why is this really an issue for you? What else do we get to? What's the real problem? Because then you're just like, fuck, man, this isn't gonna fucking happen. I'm just gonna waste my time. But it isn't no until it's fucking hell no. That's when it's no. Then you walk away.
There's an ask on the table right now that Adam's involved with where a guy wants the franchise agreement to be coterminous with the lease. And so the lease is out over 10 years. And so I don't really care. The franchise agreement used to be 10 years. Obviously, we all know it's 20 now. But it's so that's not really material to us. But what's material to us is that once you open Pandora's box, and they just keep negotiating, and they realize, and so that's a real risk right there. It's a judgment call.
Yeah, and the angle that I'll take with that I've done before is you make our concession, even though, as you just said, we really don't care if it's a 10-year agreement or if it's a 20-year agreement. Obviously, we want the 20, but it's not a huge sticking point to us. My angle is gonna go back to this guy and make it an enormous fucking deal.
Right.
And be like, dude, if we do this, you have to sign right now.
Right.
And that's
Get a concession.
That's how you get
Get a
that
concession,
lease
get
and
a concession.
FA done at the same time. You just make it seem like a much bigger deal than it actually is, and that they're actually getting something they feel like they want.
So
But
it's
we
like,
really don't
okay.
want that much.
Like to that point, like I had a car dealer like do this to me once, and it's like, okay, wait, you gotta You gotta put it in writing, you gotta sign it. I remember sitting in a car dealership one time as a teenager, and it's like, if you sign this piece of paper that says that, you'll buy it today with cash, then I'll go take this back to the credit manager and like all the shit, it's all bullshit, just to get the commitment, right? And so, yeah.
Yeah, we do that with LOIs. I mean, we ask for the moon up front. One of the concessions is no personal guarantee. Well, we all know they're gonna personally guarantee the lease. But we make it look like it's a win. We're, all right, we'll personally guarantee, give us the TI we want, So it's a give and take, and I think that's a good example. All right, let's go on to research. So let's watch this little clip here if you click on this.
I've got it. I think I've got it pulled up on the. If you want to go down to Chrome, it's already pulled up.
Okay.
I believe. Yep.
Do the volume.
And that little box is muted
Where?
on the Twitter box. There it is. There you go.
You reset it. Sorry. It's just about one.
Good job of preparing us for different looks and preparing me specifically about if you do get this look, go ahead and run it.
Look, the Eagles gave was defense stay or punt safe. It means that the primary defense stays on the field to prevent the fake.
You can't expect it in that situations for
We're not bigger than that.
Usually, call start from down defense was on field.
Ironically, this is the very look the Saints were hoping for. In the wild card matchup, theirs, the Eagles ran defense stay 3 times. Each time, number 91 Fletcher Cox reacted passively to the snap.
Lazy.
Jason, what exactly did you say? It was a defense stay, and I think that they were trying to prevent that. They kept all their tackles in and a tight end gap. Fletcher was a little late getting lined up, and so that was one of the things that kind of triggered in my mind and I thought that we could catch them off guard.
On the Saints' fake punt, Mason Hill ran right at Cox's spot on the line to earn the first down.
Generally, the looks that are somewhat favorable also come with some risk. But there's really based on the looks we saw here. That was huge.
So the Saints did the research, right? They exploited that defender because they knew he was kind of loafing it especially on punt coverage. So they attacked that on the defense. And, I think that, doing the research in our world is just as important and valuable to us, whether it's reviewing and understanding the FTD. I try to have it available to me on every call, especially with a prospect, because you never know when they're going to pop off with, a question on item 7 or whatever it is, and it's good to have it there so you can revert right to it. And take notes, man, on the FTD, because a lot of times there are questions that are going to be repetitive, and you're going to get them from different prospects. So might as well, take notes and understand it. Site selection, we have to do our research in the real estate world because, brokers are they pitch you a site and they always put lipstick on a pig, so to speak, It's always the best site in town, right? So we have to make sure, do our homework, investigate, and make sure it really is. So what's an example of somebody here that, other than the 2 examples I gave you, that you have to do your research? Jim?
International had a meeting with the Japanese External Trade Relations Organization. They're located across the United States. I met them in Chicago last Friday. Great office, rather intimidating. I walk in, I'm in my suit, and there's 5 Japanese guys on the other side of the table in their suit. And I spoke about Dickies, but I also let them know that meat consumption in Japan has been up every year since 1961. Poultry is the new red meat, but it far is in second place to pork. Meat is replacing seafood, and I thought, I'm getting nowhere with this group. They have what I need. They have leads. Their job is to promote companies like ours across Japan. At the end of the meeting, the two guys came in and said, "You want our business because you knew more about Japan consumption than we do." I mean, not me, just my desire to, like, holy shit, how do I break through these guys? Just staring a hole in me, drinking tea while I'm sweating my ass off. But it was that homework that I think will win us some business in Japan.
Well, I think it's researching the prospect while you're on the phone. It's not necessarily that you're looking them up on LinkedIn, but just listening. Everything you do in a sales role should be researching automatically in your mind. Everything they're saying, the breath they're taking, their demeanor, everything. All of that matters, and they'll help you find that pain point so that you can move forward.
They want to help you find a way to win. That couple times. You care enough about them. It's like your first date. You care all about them. Not that I date.
Build the relationship, right? And they will trust you. That's a huge win moving forward.
I always walk into, whenever I met with an owner, I've got all their numbers, know their sales, know their labor, know where they're good, I know where they've got opportunities. And then also I look at the area. They want to know if you know their area. So the employers, the demographics, the population, the trends, and so traffic counts. I mean, you know all that stuff. If you know their area, I mean, you've got a lot of credibility right there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. When I call direct delivery leads, I know their OLO, where they're trending in catering, where they're trending in sales in general, what other third-party vendors are in the market, if there are third-party vendors, finding like-minded or other stores that are like theirs with their demographics in the community. And so when they're throwing objections my way, I'm like, well, Minot, North Dakota is similar to your store. Here's what they're doing. You know, Traverse City is similar to your city, where there's only an Uber Eats market. Here's what they're doing. And so always having counterpoints and knowing their store, they're like, okay, I guess it can work for me. You just have to always relate it back to other owners that are very similar to them in their situations.
Well, you always have to know what the local third-party vendors are every time you're on the board with something.
And it's tough for me because I'm trying to push direct, while at the same time I want third-party
Yeah.
to go up too. And so it's like I'm in this counterbalance both, you know. So
Let's do the next one. Does anybody know what that means in our world?
Always be closing.
Good. Good. So we'll just.
Well, dang, man, you just kind of stole stuff.
I'm lying to wait. I'm soaking all this up, and I'm gonna come out like a ninja.
Let's show the next little clip just real fast. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this.
The Alec Baldwin?
It's short. I cut out this is the PG version.
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's definitely.
You did this. This is.
You made this.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
That's good. That's good.
No.
No,
No,
we can have that, but.
Renee.
Aaron, I think that's perfect. So hopefully you guys understand it's a numbers game. Know how to create a sense of urgency, and make sure you do the research.
Fun. Once you guys choose a path to go down in a sale, like when you're creating this emergency, we always historically we do it happens at the end of the month. If we chose that at the beginning, it better fucking stay that way, because then things get shifty. Then they think you're shaky, or your system's shaky, or you're not confident. So I always want you guys to have that sense of urgency, but the second you choose that sales path, you better fucking stick with it, because otherwise you wasted your time.
I've never bought from a salesperson that didn't know their shit, wasn't completely buttoned up, somebody that I respected, that came across as polished, subject matter experts. Anyone that I've ever done business with, that's the way they come across. If they come across as a shady, car salesman, something like that, like there's no way I'm doing business with them, no way. So, and I've seen a lot of people that used to be car salesmen get buttoned up and polished and move into other industries and do well. So it's just the way that you come across. I mean, you're trying to look for a quick flip, kind of a one and done deal, or are you going to be somebody that's like respected, like the kind of person that could be, problem solver, that could be kind of like a long-term resource for you. That's the kind of person that you could be friends with, that you could even learn from. That's the kind of person that I want to do business with.
The other thing, especially if you're working with existing franchisees, just call them from time to time out of the blue. Not just when you need something from them. That's going to get you wins down the road for sure. I know
Question and
we got-
answer,
Went a
anything?
little fast, so any questions, guys, or any, feel free to share stories too. We got a few minutes.
I have a story to share. So we have this meeting daily from 3:45 to 4:15 on sales and deal making. And I've asked all of you to be here on time and not plugged into your phones or laptops for the meeting. So the story that I would like to share is a thank you to everyone that showed up on time and a request that everyone makes this a daily priority. And there really shouldn't be any exceptions to miss this. We're all in this together. We've got some great topics. Can't wait to see what Adam brings to the table tomorrow. But the only exception to not be in this meeting truly is Discovery Day. So other than that, please make sure that you're in here on time and ready to learn something from each other.
Good
Yep.
spin on that. See the way she did that? Good, so. All right, well, guys, hold on to your socks because tomorrow Adam is going to.
Appreciate that,
All
Ron.
right, nice job, Chad. Very good.
All right.
Cool.
All right.
All right, cool. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chad.